What is up, everybody, from our AT&T 5G virtual studios? Welcome to the call up. I'm Susannah Collins.
Well, I'm in your AT&T 5G virtual studio.
It's my virtual studio, you guys. This is wild. So it's obviously the playoffs right now. We are in the thick of it. Jill and I have been road warriors for the last week, and I'm still in Los Angeles. I know, boohoo, feel bad for me. But I'm still in my lovely hotel room in Hollywood, and Jill is getting some work done on her house. And so she is literally at my house and using my studio.
I'm in Studio S. You're in Studio LA.
Studio LA.
And June's at our original studio.
June, you could have brought June over. Could have.
This again, like something about
my place is
not in your own space. Like, again, being at your place feels like I'm at a WeWork. Like, I'm trying to be professional here. June's got to stay home. She's got a nap, and I need to work. Mama's got to work.
Mama's got to work. Mama's got to pay the bills. Okay, so as we said, playoffs in full swing. It's been wild. God, I love the playoffs. I don't know what it is this year, but like I was so ready for this. I was so ready for some postseason soccer and just games of importance, games that matter. I was at the Galaxy Nashville game at Dignity Health Sports Park over the weekend, and it didn't go so well for Nashville, unfortunately. But
I just feel for Hani because he was our guest the week prior, and he had us all believing, and I still believe in him.
He was delightful. I saw him pregame. He gave me a big hug. The vibes were so good. It was like, I saw him walking off the field, and I was just like, oh, heartbreak. That one hurt. And then on the flip side, you've got like young kids like Julian Araujo being the hero, the hometown kid, and scoring his first ever playoff goal in front of the hometown fans, his family's there. I mean, like, just moments like that were so incredible. And we've seen some just really awesome games, PK shootouts. On that note, PK shootouts, our guest today, you guys, the hero of Austin FC, the one and only Brad Stuver, goalkeeper, is going to be joining us, who is not only he's got a fascinating story. His MLS journey has been like a bit of a roller coaster, a backup for a long time before kind of finding his place in Austin, where he has just now cemented himself. Like he's the guy. He is so important. He came up with that massive save in the PK shootout that like hit the crossbar. You were there. It was wild. And also just a great human being.
Yeah.
Great human being.
I said it to him, it's good to see good things happen to good people. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, the real life is just because you're a good person doesn't mean you're going to get your magical route or your happy ending, but he has, and he deserves it. It takes a special type of person to persevere, stay positive, and stay positive to the people around them and the communities that they're in. And Brad Stuver is a guy that is 31 years old and waited 8 seasons for his first starting role. Yeah. And he gets it at one of the most explosive clubs now in MLS. And he's doing it in Austin year 2 here.
You love to see it.
That's the story of Brad Stuver. And there's so much more to come for him.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys. We've got a bunch of guys in the leagues who are easy to root for. And Brad Stuver is one of those guys, because exactly to your point, you want to see good things happen to good people. And he is definitely one of those. Jill, before we get into it though, I have a fun story, a fun little nugget.
I have like 100, but I know, but do tell.
Okay. So I'm at the Galaxy match and they win, and we're doing post-game interviews. And they bring over Chicharito,
Javi, as we call him.
Exactly. So we love Vicky Mercado, and we weren't sure if we were going to get him. We knew that we wanted to talk to Julian Araujo because he scored the goal. But this was Chicharito's first MLS playoff experience, or like his appearance there. We'd not seen him in the playoffs before. And he had a goal called off. I mean, like, it was like he played really, really well. He was fantastic. So I wasn't sure we were going to get him. And then I see Vicky kind of like pulling him over to us. And he looks at Vicky and he points at me and he's like, oh, like he like didn't want to do it. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I am And then he comes over and he's like, I am kidding. He's like, we're best friends, remember?
Okay.
And
I would still be like, you just shook my confidence, Chicharito.
I know. But then he was like, I am playing. And he gave me like a big sweaty hug. And he was like, no, we're best friends. We're best friends. And I was like,
you know what
it
it was?
It was very cute. It was very cheeky.
We reaffirmed his week 1 fashion choice. And I think that I think that after that with us and him, it all goes back to that.
I know. I agree. But I was like, oh my God, Chicharito. I'm like, and then I'm like, I'm like, have I said like bad things? Did I offend him?
For people listening to this, I just want to tell you, you might think like, oh, I'm on the field and this guy doesn't want to talk to me. Like, oh, that hurts my feelings a little bit. You believe me, one, you get used to it because a lot of people don't want to talk to you, and a lot of people don't talk to you, and that is their right. However, when you read about someone all week, listen to every podcast that they've ever been on, prepare, leave your family to get on an airplane, then run around sweating, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to relay information during the game. And then when you get that reaction, when it's real, it's very hurtful.
It is. Yeah,
so I can't imagine kind of seeing it and then being like, okay, no, it's fake. Bounce back. Okay,
I was like, oh God. And then it was a great interview. And he said he was like,
and so was Chicharito.
And I asked him, I was like, so are you gonna talk to Carlos Vela beforehand? Or are you guys gonna like,
Oh, I heard that.
Play enemies?
He said no.
He said he was like, no, I'm gonna text him right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. I misunderstood.
Yep.
Well, that's fun. When you see him again, Suze, on Thursday, just tell him I said hi.
Javi.
Before the game for sure. But on the real, I was in Austin. It was fantastic. We were on the ABC call for that game, and credit to Real Salt Lake. Holy moly.
I was like, they're gonna do it again.
To all of these things. One, they're Real Salt Lake. 2 straight years of waiting until decision day to find out if they're going to the postseason. Then they go. Then Real Salt Lake comes to Austin, where it was a deafening atmosphere. It was filled with green. It was loud. It was insane. And it was intimidating. They go down to 10 men. And they weather that storm for 60 to 70 minutes, which shame on Austin in fairness in that moment. You have these offensive weapons and you need to take advantage, but it goes to penalty kicks, right? And it was just all the feels, when Austin scored that second goal to make it 2-2 to send it to extra time, Pablo Mastroeni fell to his knees. I talked to him. He said, I knew something crazy was going to happen. Yeah. It's like this team just knows. And while, I think Austin is the better team, at this point, and deserve to move on, I don't know any other team in the league that could have done what RSL did there mentally. And it's because they believe. And it has, I know it sounds Ted Lasso-y, and it's not. They want to put that out there. It was before Ted Lasso. But they have this belief that is just like, it's contagious and like you want to have it. So while we're going to get so into Austin, I got to give a little love to
That's all Pablo. That is all Pablo.
He's so philosophical.
He is
very intellectual.
He's one of my favorite coaches in the league.
Fun fact. Him and Josh Wolf were roommates at the 2002 World Cup.
That's adorable.
And Josh Wolf, head coach of Austin FC's biggest memory of Pablo Mastroeni, RSL's head coach, is that he strummed along to Jack Johnson on his guitar a lot. Couldn't you see it?
Yep, absolutely. Because he is this like super philosophical guy. And when they went on their run last year in the playoffs, the very unlikely run that nobody saw coming, I remember talking to Pablo, and he was just like, you have to get the guys to buy in to what you're selling. Like, they have to believe. And he was like, that's my job as a coach. Like, he was just like, it is all about empowering his players. And I remember Damir Kreilach, like literally like coming up behind him. And like, after they had beat Sporting Kansas City, and was just like, boss, and like hugging it. And it was like, and I was like, and it was just so beautiful. Like, it was such a beautiful moment. And so I literally, when I saw what was happening in this game, I was like, RSL might do it again.
They might. And I think
do it again.
I think one thing for and we'll get
all Pablo though.
RSL, but one thing for people to realize is, while they didn't advance this year, they still did it in a year where they basically had no Damir Kreilach, no Bobby Wood, no Rusnak, obviously. And, last year there was a little more stardom per se, and that's no disrespect to the other guys on the field. But let's talk to the man that ruined everything for Real Salt Lake. Time now for our AT&T 5G call to the field. The man of the hour, the man of the week, perhaps Brad Stuver, goalkeeper for Austin FC. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me on.
So, Brad, it has been just about 48 hours since the first penalty kicks of the postseason. When I spoke to you after, you were very much still in shock. How are we now?
Still in shock. I mean, had a little bit of time to digest and kind of enjoy the moment, and we're very excited about moving on. We're very excited about having another home game at Q2, and still a little bit in shock, but ready for the next one.
I have to ask you, so I've watched the clip of the save. I think we're just going to refer to it as the save from here on out. It's going to go down in MLS lore. But I've watched this clip so many times, and I'm like, it's unbelievable. Your reach, and then the ball hitting the top crossbar and coming off. How have you watched it again? Have you replayed this in your head? And what is your reaction when you watch it now that you've had a little bit of time?
Yeah, it's weird seeing it from the goalpost cam. That angle was the exact opposite of what I was looking at, because I was looking at it the other way. But yeah, I was super nervous when it came off my hand. All I could do was look up, and I was just hoping, and I was willing the ball to not drop into the goal. Mm-hmm. And that was my biggest fear. I was all right, I got on the first pen, it went underneath me, and I was all right, I should have saved that. And then on this one, it hit my hand, and I was oh my God, if this goes in, I'm gonna this is gonna be terrible. So I was staring at the ball, and I was telling Jillian in the moment, it felt like slow-mo. I was watching it hit the crossbar twice, and then it was falling to the ground. And yeah, that was interesting.
I was willing you to get I'm no, what if it falls across the line? I'm Brad.
That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to get up as quick as possible. I was
in there. I was sweating for you, so I can't even imagine.
It gave me almost some flashbacks to the double post vibes in 2015 with Portland.
And we had another one last night with NYCFC.
Yeah, but what's funny is Saad Abdul Salam is actually a good friend of mine, and we still do not let him live down the double post. It's how many years later? 7 years later, and every time we talk about penalties, we talk about the double post. So we've never let him live that one down.
See, Brad, you are already in history, like Susannah said. So then 2 questions off of that. We all were up late last night watching the game, and of all the other games to go to penalty kicks, it was Dallas to get through. What was your reaction when you saw that and that they would be your next opponent?
I mean, it's the perfect storyline, right? In the conference semifinals, you have both LA teams going at it, and then you have a little bit of the Texas Derby going at it. It's kind of one of those things where you love to see it happen. You love to have it at Q2. These are how great rivalries start. We're a new club, and we're still kind of building history with some teams. And yeah, we're in the same state as Dallas, but this will be kind of the first real game that matters in the playoffs. I mean, we've had Copa Tejas, and we've kind of each split that in the first 2 years, but these are the games that kind of make rivalries explode. And so we're looking forward to it, and we're happy that it's in Austin.
So Q2 Stadium was, I mean, I knew it was going to be insane watching it on TV. I knew the atmosphere was going to be, I mean, you could feel it. I could feel it as I was watching, and because they bring it during the regular season, and I was for the playoffs, this place is going to be absolutely out of control. From Brad, from your perspective and standing there, can you kind of describe what it was like at Q2 for that game and what we can expect against Dallas?
I honestly cannot explain it. It's one of those things where when you're in the stadium, when you're hearing the crowd, when you feel the energy, it's just something that's indescribable. We got a couple glimpses of that in the regular season. I think the home game against LAFC was probably one of the loudest games that I've heard. And then that playoff game just took it to a whole new level. You could see, like, when we were down 2-1, every time we had a corner kick, anytime we got close to goal, anytime there was a free kick, the fans were just so engaged and kind of like willing everybody on no matter what happened. And then we go into penalty kicks, and I mean, that's just the loudest I've ever heard it. And I just know that this weekend it's going to be even louder than it was, which is hard to imagine. But yeah, it's one of those things where you just have to be here to experience it.
I have my noise canceling, very expensive headphones, earpieces, and I'm like worried, am I going to have to buy even more expensive ones? To be determined. We will find out. But we're going to get into a lot more. But I want to ask you, it's been just people on Twitter are wondering, because I asked you at the end, like, we need to go get a nice team dinner and just chill out. So what did the team do afterwards to kind of help settle everyone down a bit? And did Anthony Precourt end up picking up the tab?
So a lot of us were in the locker room for a little bit of time afterward, just kind of decompressing before we went and saw our families and whatnot. We ended up, most of us all kind of went our separate ways. Like, we all kind of had our own way to decompress and do our own thing. I don't know if Anthony picked up any of the tabs. I'll have to ask him, but I do know some of the guys had like barbecues at their houses. Some guys went out to dinner in the city.
Gotcha.
I went home and watched the Montreal game because I'm sick and can't get enough of soccer. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice to just go home and relax and enjoy the win.
Brad, I want to ask you about your teammate, Sebastian Driussi, who has just been absolutely spectacular. He's a finalist for MVP this year. And I mean, you can make a case for him so easily as to why he should win this award. But I would like you to tell us why Sebastian Driussi deserves to be MVP and what he has brought to this Austin side.
So ever since Seb got here last summer, he has brought an infectious energy that can be seen throughout our team. And it just inspires other people around him to kind of follow his lead. And he brings everybody else up to a new level. For me, what he's done this year has been something spectacular. When you look at MVP, I kind of add everything into it. The golden boot is most goals, like most assists is most assists. But for me, what Seb brings both on the offensive side of things, defensive side of things, and just what he brings in the locker room and how he's able to bring guys along with him instead of just being the Sebastian Driussi show. He like makes everyone better around him, and that kind of makes him as good as he is as well. And he's just downright humble. He doesn't really like the spotlight, which I think is funny. We had an event last week, like leading up to the game, and he was so nervous to go out in front of our fans and just kind of say hello and like say thank you. His hands were sweating. He was so nervous to like stand in front of people, which I was like, Seb, you're like an MVP candidate. You played in Champions League. You played like in Zenit. Like, what do you mean you're nervous? He's like, yeah, I'm not. So like for me, it's just everything about him is just amazing. And for me, he's definitely the MVP of the league. And he showed it in the playoffs. When we needed him most, he came up with 2 goals, and then he buried his second PK in the shootout. So
that is so endearing. That's like
adorable, infectious energy. I love that. It's rare to get the package deal, perhaps in a designated player, because they have one responsibility or something like that, and it's on the field. When I spoke to Josh Wolf a couple days ago about him, and by the way, I got to sit down with Driussi, and he's just lovely. When I spoke to Josh, he kind of alluded to a little bit of what you're saying here, Brad. He's MVP, and it's MVP in a lot of ways that you don't see. Playing video games with guys, hanging around the training grounds, buying gifts, taking guys out to dinner, those types of things that galvanize a group outside of goals and assists. For you, what's your favorite off the field or funny off the field memory with him?
Wow. So I think it would have been, we had a trip so we did Salt Lake midweek, and then we had LAFC on the weekend. So we did like the long trip. We went from Salt Lake to LA, and we had a couple days there. We had a team dinner in LA like a couple days leading up to the game, and him and Maxi were just sitting at this table, and they were cracking jokes the entire night. And I just remember him standing up and like telling jokes and making everybody laugh. And of course, they're speaking Spanish extremely quickly. And the majority of our guys speak Spanish, but then we had some guys translating what they were saying. But the fact that they didn't stop talking for 3 hours. Like Seb and Maxi were just like going back and forth, bantering the entire time. And I just remember as we were walking out, Seb just started walking down the street and saying like, oh, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. And then he like starts walking the other way, and everyone's just kind of like following him. They're like, this dude is just out of his mind crazy. Like, what is he talking about? And we're all just kind of like following him along the street. And it was just really funny to see him kind of like come out of his shell and just be like this big goofball in the middle of LA. That was one of the best moments with him.
That's cute.
I love that. I love that. Brad, let's pivot a little. Let's talk about your career. And it's been an interesting one. It's been a journey. Drafted in 2013 by Montreal, and then spent some time in USL, 3 seasons at NYCFC where you were backing up Sean Johnson, before now landing at Austin where you are the guy. And it feels like it's one of these awesome stories where it's like, you know, it took a while. It took a while to find the right spot. But now you are here. You have seized the opportunity, and you have integrated yourself as such an important piece of the success of this club. Is there, I mean, what comes to mind when you kind of reflect on your journey, and why do you think like this was the moment that things kind of came together for you here in Austin?
One of the biggest sayings that I've always had since I was growing up, my parents kind of instilled it in me early, was everything happens for a reason. We never truly know what's going on, but at the end you kind of look back and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So being in Columbus, having Josh as my assistant coach, going to New York City and having Claudio as my GM there, and then them just kind of coming together here in Austin in the year that my contract is ending and I become a free agent. It was kind of just this perfect storm of things just coming together where I knew that I needed to take a chance to become a starter. And I was fortunate enough that Claudio and Josh both knew who I was and were willing to give me a shot in an open competition for an expansion team, which doesn't always happen. Most expansion teams want to go in like knowing who their guys are going to be. So I'm very grateful for them for taking a chance on me and giving me the opportunity to kind of compete and kind of run with it when I could. But yeah, it was just kind of this perfect storm of events that led us to Austin. And then once we got here, we've just been embraced by the entire city and the community. And it's an amazing place to play, and it's an amazing place to live. So
it's a great story, but you know, the thing that always sticks out to me about you, Brad, is no matter what your role on a team is you always, and how long you're going to be in a city, you always make sure that you're involved in the cities that you're in. Back in July, you were an ESPY nominee, the first MLS player to ever be nominated for ESPN's Muhammad Ali Humanitarian of the Year award. That was really cool. And you're involved, LGBTQ plus rights, voting, community projects. You stick up for people. Why is that so important?
For me, I get to play soccer for a living, and that's a dream come true for me. That wouldn't be possible without the communities that we live in. The communities are the ones that kind of allow us to live out the dreams that we've had since we were little kids. And for me, I don't want to come into a city and just kind of be there to play soccer and then leave. I want to try and show as much gratitude as I can while I'm in a city, because they are giving me that opportunity. And the things that I've gotten involved with are just things that I have seen that are passionate for me. There are things that I want everyone to be able to have the same rights as everybody else. I want to help as many people as possible. And just the things that I'm involved in, the things that my wife, Ashley, are involved in, I have a platform. And I don't want to look back at the end of my career and say that I didn't use that platform to enact some sort of good.
One of the initiatives, Brad, that you are involved with is called the Laundry Project, which is so cool. We were reading about it. And it's a way to kind of, make sure that people just have access to very simple things like clean clothes. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more about that and what that looks like right now?
Yeah, so we fell into the Laundry Project through friends of my wife. They are now good friends. They came to us in, I think it's 2016, when I was still playing in Columbus, and they told us about this initiative where you fundraise money, you fundraise laundry supplies, and then you go into a lower income neighborhood's public laundromat. And anybody that walks through the door for 3 hours, you pay for their washing machine, you pay for their dryer, they can use your laundry detergent, softener, all that type of stuff. And we did our first project in Columbus, and that was kind of when we learned just how powerful that little act can be. A lot of us take for granted having the ability to have clean clothes because you have the washer and dryer in your house and you can throw clothes in, you can go watch TV, you can go do other things, and then you can flip and do that sort of thing. So just the time commitment that it takes to wash your clothes, the amount of money that it takes at a public laundromat was baffling to me. I did not realize how expensive it would be to wash clothes. And just some of the people that we talked to, we learned that when you budget out for a month, you have food money, you have transportation money, you have all these different things that you budget for, and clean clothes and laundry budget kind of fall off the tail end when things happen. So when inflation started happening, when COVID hits, when your child has an unexpected medical bill or anything like that, your car needs to go to the shop, clean clothes kind of falls off. So this is just kind of our little way of trying to make sure that everyone has access to clean clothes, because we know that clean clothes can give so much confidence to a kid going to school, adults going to job interviews, any little thing like that.
That's so cool, Brett.
That's
I remember
amazing.
first learning about it when you were playing with New York City FC and doing that around the boroughs. So it's incredible. And thank you. And I know the fans, thank you. I could tell in Austin, you see it all the time in the headlines, but you really are like beloved and a total fan favorite there. And it's just great to see good things happen to good people. Before we let you go, you touched on the rivalry. That's the obvious headline. But I can tell you're a student of the game, rushing home to watch Montreal. So give us the Brad Stuver, Austin FC Dallas scouting report.
I'm not going to go into too much detail like Josh.
Okay.
I'm sure Josh would have given you the point by point. This is
we're not
what's going to
talking
happen.
to Josh.
No.
I know. But no, this will be a good one. I know FC Dallas has always been a good team. They play a very attractive style of soccer. They have some high caliber players like Jesus Ferreira and Paul Areola. It's going to be a good matchup. They like having possession and they like hitting on counterattacks. We like having possession. So it's going to be a duel. I mean, we've tied both games this year, and I think we're both looking to kind of cement our place as the best team in Texas this year.
Knowing that you've already kind of like, you had this moment in a PK shootout, like in the playoffs, Brad. Like, I mean, are you feeling extra confident now? Like, are you like you're like, listen, Jesus Ferreira, bring it on. Let's go. I'm Brad Stuver. Like, nothing's getting past me.
I mean, I hope they look at it and they feel that way. I'm not going to say that.
You're in their heads. You're in their heads.
I know how good of
Dallas
players
had
they
swagger
are.
last night walking up to that spot. They kind of scared me.
I was going to say the fact that two of their players had the audacity to hit Panenkas. And the game winning was a Panenka. So, I mean, they have that confidence about them too.
At what point as a goalkeeper can you tell you're like, oh, they're going for the Panenka? Like, because I know it's like very tricky. It's like a little like, it happens instantly. But
normally you're already at the point of no return and you're just watching it kind of float. and everyone's like, oh, why don't you just get up and try and save it? And you're like, it's not how it works.
That's not how gravity works.
Not that easy.
You can't like start going down and then pop back up.
Exactly. I wish I could, because then it wouldn't happen. But.
Well, we look forward to it. Look forward to seeing you in Austin for that game, Brad. And thanks a lot for making the time for us. We know there's a lot of requests during a postseason, especially for a club like Austin. So we appreciate you very much. Here for this. Well, after a week like this, we could literally bullet point 10,000 things.
A million things.
But let's do our top three. First, Susannah Collins, I'd like to take a moment of silence for my man, my hero, my everything, Gonzalo Higuaín. His final game of his incredible, I mean, one of the best world soccer, amazing. His career ends with Inter Miami at Citi Field, probably not the way he would have written it up, the Citi Field part. But what I will say is I loved his raw emotion. It was so beautiful to see that this is a guy where a lot of things have been asked of him, you know, off the field questions, commitment questions. Mm-hmm. He's still scored crazy amounts of goals that you never, ever see. And he's changed the game. And I just want to say that to see how much the game means to him was just so beautiful. And I'm sending some love out to Gonzalo Higuaín.
I have been emotional about him since he announced his retirement, because that press conference did me in. Like, I was like, oh God, like he starts crying and you know me, like if I see somebody else crying, I start crying. Like,
you have a good heart.
This is what happens. I'm an empath. What can I say? But I've been in floods, and then hearing his interviews like leading up to this match, and then watching him on the field yesterday. And he had a goal called off yesterday. I mean, it would have been a spectacular goal as well against NYCFC. But to see it kind of like that moment and him just kind of like taking it all in. I mean, just we were lucky. We were lucky that we got him. We got to watch him.
We just need to.
Now we can celebrate him. We will
call up.
I think we can. I think
we've been beating that drum, and we will absolutely make that happen. We need, you know what we should do? We should all bring tissues, and we should have a cry session.
I know, just like an ugly cry with Gonzalo Higuaín.
Like, oh, you know what we should do? We should send him ice cream and do all the things that like you do when you want to have a crying session with your friends.
Absolutely.
On a slightly different note, if you were watching the Dallas-Minnesota game last night at Toyota Park in Dallas, there's no doubt that you would have missed this moment. Somebody, and whoever you are, I hope you're not embarrassed that this is out, because you should be
you're
proud.
A hero.
He was eating a taco, I kid you not, the size of my laptop.
Huge.
It looked so good. It didn't. Sometimes when they do the big kind of pageantry, ballpark or stadium food, it's a little hokey and it looks cool to take a picture of, but it doesn't look good to eat. Mm-hmm. This taco looked incredible. It had probably 6 pounds of lettuce, probably an entire shredded pack of cheese. I don't know, an entire
It was a two-hander.
It was so yummy. And it was in a shell. Like, how big is that shell? So, you know, one, I have found a new reason to go to Toyota Park. That is number one for me. And two, hey, Austin, here's an idea. If you talk about Austin tacos, you want to really send some shade to FC Dallas, get the giant taco by this weekend.
Or make a bigger one. Make it
better one. That's the only way you can truly win this weekend, is if you beat the taco.
I don't think, like, I have to, now it is my mission in life to try a taco that requires 2 hands to eat it. Like, I mean, just, that is so substantial.
He wasn't spilling it on himself.
And they know, and you know what they say. It's everything is bigger in Texas. Everything is bigger in Texas, including the tacos. And that was one of the highlights of the evening for me, amongst all of the very, very exciting MLS playoff action.
How long do you think it would take for us to eat those?
Ooh, depending on how hungry I am, I could crush that. Like, I could crush that in.
Perhaps it's a podcast episode.
Yeah. Like, no, I'd like to. I think I'd give myself 20 minutes. I think I could, because I'd probably have to take a little break.
So
and
let's
then,
go.
You let things like digest a little, and then you go in. But I could crush that taco.
Let's go and do it.
Okay, this is funny too. This is my here for this. So if you follow Jill and I on our respective social media
We're
accounts.
Sorry.
We apologize, but also you should be following us because we're very fun.
Damn straight.
You know, we one of the things as reporters that, you know, it sounds a little kind of cringe, but we do have to be mindful of like the things that we wear and our outfits and our fits. And a lot of people ask it, like, you know, it's like the whole like reporter fit thing is a thing. So Jill and I posted pictures of our outfits for our playoff assignments, and we just happened. Now, mind you, there's a whole story behind this, but we happened to wear the same faux black leather shorts for our games.
For the same round of games.
For the same round of games. And we did not know this. Now, I want to tell the people that we did, in fact, purchase these shorts together. We went shopping.
On a very low day.
We were
needing retail therapy.
Retail therapy. And we were both like, man, these are great. Like, and we were just like, yeah, Jill's like, they look great on you. I'm like, those look great on you. So we bought them. No intention of wearing them for like the same, you know, playoff round. But that's what happened. That has happened to us since like our beginning of our friendship, is that we will very often show up in the same outfits. But the amount of people, Jill, that were like, oh my God, you and Jill are wearing the same shorts.
Send me messages. No one sent me a message being like, oh, great report.
No, it was literally all about the fit.
I got ones like, you and Susannah have same shorts on. I'm like, oh, great. Okay.
I know. I was like, and yep, there we go. So people notice. And I'm just saying, we're both gonna be in Austin. Maybe we should just start coordinating. Like maybe we should just literally wear the same thing.
Well, Lord knows we don't have to talk about it to do it. So
it's absolutely true. Facts.
As I sit in your house staring at your closet, I'm literally rating it for Austin. So it's impossible for us to wear the same outfits. I'm about to steal your clothes.
Amazing.
Oh God, help us. Okay, so aside from that and fascinating nugget, what's on tap? Well, Susannah Collins mentioned the games ahead. The conference semifinals are upon us. Philadelphia taking on FC Cincinnati. I'm struggling with this one because it is two of my favorite head coaches in the league that you like to root for. Our man, Jimmy C., reigning champion of our Best Dressed Award.
And connection.
And Pat Noonan, who used to coach under Jim Curtin. Yeah. Adorable. All part of the coaching tree together. That game is going to be Thursday, Eastern, at 8 p.m. Eastern time. FS1, Fox Deportes. I will be in Philadelphia. And then the double header with Susannah Collins kicks off El Tráfico at 10 o'clock Eastern.
Oh, you guys, I cannot believe I have been at one other El Tráfico playoff game. And it's just, you know that this rivalry, it always delivers. It always produces.
How many goals?
Wild and crazy. This is going to, okay. So total. I'm going to say 6 goals total. I'm going up there. I just want it to be like crazy.
I'm going to go 7.
Also, watching Ricky Pooch in person is the most fun. He is so fast and he's tiny, but like, oh my God, he is such a special player. Like I that was my first time watching him in real life. And I just think like, this is going to be such a fun game. And like Carlos Vela is going to be up for it. Chicharito is going to be up for it. It's just going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm so excited. I will be there. On Saturday, Montreal. This is going to be a great game. Montreal takes on NYCFC at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ESPN3, followed up by Austin taking on Dallas, 8 p.m. Eastern. That is on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. I'm going to be there. Jill's going to be there. We're going to be in the same place at the same time during the playoffs. This usually doesn't happen until MLS Cup, by the way. So this is going to be very special, and we're super, super excited for it.
We certainly are. And shout out to New York City FC, looking like their old selves.
Yes, they are. Getting hot at the right time.
So if you want to see any of this chaos we talked about, watch it on television, but also be sure to tune into our Audi 2022 MLS Cup playoff shows, pregame shows on Twitter Spaces, followed by the postgame show on Twitch and YouTube. So that does it. Like Susannah said, follow us. I think we post some really interesting behind the scenes.
Don't forget to watch
chaos.
our
A vlog is coming out, so they say.
Yeah.
And credit to our producer, Galina Platova, who takes a bunch of chaotic posts
Ridiculous
that
videos.
we text her and has to make some type of sense out of that. So we will see all of you, and who knows who our guest is going to be next week, because we have no idea what's going to happen.
That's the beauty of the playoffs, baby. We love it. We live for it.
What's up, everybody? It is Susannah Collins and Jillian Sakovitz, co-hosts of The Call Up. And if you want more Call Up action, hit like and subscribe right here on YouTube, right there.
And also make sure that you download every episode of The Call Up every single Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. And while you're here, why not check out some of these other videos as well?